of you present here. I know you guys have braved traffic. You guys have braved the chaos that is out there. I don't know how the rains are. We've been cocooned into this wall, so forgive me on that part, but it's honestly a big pleasure and a huge, huge thank you for making it here. And without much further ado, I know we are already running 10 minutes late, but I'm going to quickly call on stage the Managing Director for ITP Media India, Mr. Bibor Srivastav, to give a quick welcome address.
And I have to thank Bangalore immensely. I've been in Bangalore for the last fortnight, in 3 occasions, and we built some incredible forums and summit like this. I think the way Bangalore comes in time, so I think thanks to each one of you to be here this evening with us. And this is what we do. And if we really jog our memories about a decade back, what we started with Hotelier India actually gave birth to some incredible titles and publications. At the heart of it, we believe whatever we do, we remain true, we remain credible, we remain meaningful, and I think you get the best out of from the industry. So far you're relevant, so far you're contemporary, so far you believe in the ethos of journalism and media as an entity to remain true to its work and remain responsible for disseminating information. And for people who are new to us, we are the largest foreign publishing firm based out of Middle East. But I don't want to go for more discourse, and I want to thank our partners, AFC and Signify, for believing in us and staying committed to help us, to be with us to the length and breadth of the country, to help us to make this evening possible. Wirenet and my friend Fancy George, thank you. Thanks a bunch to you for getting some very prolific and outstanding speakers this evening, and I'm sure like you, I'm also eager to learn with you. So much has happened in the workspace, and Rashmi, my editor, I think you can give her a hand for, you've got some very powerful editorial, mostly women, and I'm very proud of each of them. Buildings can stand for centuries or even millennia, but for many buildings in the modern world, particularly the big office towers that make up much of the square footage in our cities, start to get shaky around the 50-year mark. Rashmi has given me a long line. I'm not going to read Rashmi for that because I think I'm more keen to listen to each one of you. So ladies and gentlemen, I think you're going to have a great evening together with us. Thank you for listening to me.
Bibor's definitely counted you all as one impatient bunch, and he's made it quite cut and short. But just to continue on to what Bibor left, actually. So this is something that Fancy kind of brought up, and it was one of the most triggering and intriguing topic in which he mentioned that we need to start not just looking at new buildings, new spaces, new campuses, new workplaces, but what about the existing ones? And there was this line in the article that she sent, no action is still inaction, and it causes, losses, which is obviously your ROI, sustainability-wise, all of these things, and with the changing dynamics that our industry is seeing, and the way companies are adapting, it was really important for me to understand from the stalwarts in the industries present here, to understand how they are tackling this. So without much further ado, like Bibor mentioned, evenings like this are absolutely impossible without the industry support. And for this, once again, I am also thankful to our partners, and for a quick welcome address, I would love to call on stage Mr. Akib Javed, the Regional Head for AFC Furniture Solutions, to deliver a quick welcome note for all of you ladies and gentlemen present here.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Akib Javed, presenting the company AFC Furniture Solution. I'm thrilled and honored to welcome you all on the behalf of AFC Furniture Solution to our prestigious event, Upcycling and Transforming Workplace 2023. As a AFCN, we always believe that this is one of the greatest platforms to learn from the greatest leaders from our industry, to learn their expertise that help us to provide a sustainable solution to our workplaces. I don't want to take much time of yours. Looking forward to connect, collaborate, and celebrate today's moment. Have a great evening, guys. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna dive in right into the first session of the day, and I'm not gonna take much time. So this company, which we've brought forward the speaker from, is I was just reading articles about it and doing some research, and I came across that it's gonna double its portfolio in India, with currently holding 25 million square feet, with several business parks and logistics and everything. Uh, that scale is kind of unfathomable to manage, to understand, to operate. So we have a gentleman here who's kind of gonna help us, take us through what it is, the vision that this company sees. And with us, we have for our opening keynote address, Mr. Gauri Shankar, who is the CEO for India Business Parks Capital and Investment. To give you a quick introduction about him, he is a graduate from the London Business School and has more than 20 years of experience in real estate, diversified across multiple asset classes and geographies. In his current role, he oversees investments, development, operations, asset management, and strategic planning for CapitaLand Group's business parks in India, and leads the expansion and enhancement of the group's portfolio of assets in the country. He was previously based in Mumbai, where he was the head of investments and CFO, where he helped set up and scale Asanda's first space, CapitaLand's industrial and logistics platform in India. So with this, I'm gonna call him on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for him to taking his time off and joining us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Rashmi. The note I'm going to take is I'm going to ask my team to give a very shortest CV of myself the next time I go to any presentation. So welcome everybody. It's always a little nervous to be the opening batsman. The opening bowler was Aqib Javed, a famous bowler from the 1990s. I don't know how many of you are aware. So with that, it's quite a relevant topic, upcycling and transforming workplaces. And it's interesting that from CapitaLand I'm here to speak today because I don't know how many of you are aware that the first office business park was constructed in Bangalore in the year 1994 was when the foundation was stuck, and it got completed in 1998. It's in ITPL Whitefield. The first building was called the Discoverer Building. And not too long ago, we were all huddled up in our office wondering, how is this building aging? It's 25 years. The rentals are good. The tenants seem to be happy. But when with the metro coming in, when you're passing by the metro and you stare, you look like the facade is all faded up. The panels are all, ACP panels are all faded up. How do you do it? It's a living, breathing, working space. Single glazed, we can't put in. How do we replace the glazing? How do we make it prettier? It is truly a midlife crisis. So I thought the topic for today's discussion about buildings also having a midlife crisis as being very, very relevant. And also the times are, it's interesting times. Funnily enough, you have, I don't know how many of you are aware, 2022, if you look at office space take up in the world, India had the highest office space absorption. It was about 56 million square feet. So no other country in the world had more office space being taken up. But come 2023, it's been already a challenging 2 quarters. So on one side, you have pundits predicting that workspaces are going to be life spaces. Homes are going to be your workspace in the future. So workspaces are going to be irrelevant in the long term. On the other extreme, you have other experts saying that there is going to be a lot of adaptive spaces that are going to come up. The spaces are not going to be cubicles as in the past or grid-based as in the past. They are going to be very, very dynamic. They're going to be adaptive. Businesses are going to have different needs at different points in time. So you can't design one brick and mortar building which is even your IT office tenant is each based on which business vertical they are working or servicing are going to have different needs. So this comes up for a very, very interesting, sets up a very interesting dynamic in the industry. Something which I generally end up participating in real estate events, but all we talk about in those events are either demand, supply, vacancy, and rentals. we never get to speak about design or aesthetics or maintenance or sometimes sustainability. Um, so I'm looking forward, really keen to hear what the creative people in this crowd are going to talk about, the solutions that that can service this or that can sort of set this industry back where it originally started. That having said, I do need to do a little bit of PR exercise as well. I need to take you through some of our how great we are as a company. So bear with me for the next 3-4 minutes. I'll try to make it quick. Capital is kind of I would say the largest real estate developer in Asia. It has roughly about $133 billion of assets under management. It has a market cap of about $19 billion. And we are pretty much present across all of Asia and across Australia and some parts of Europe and the US. And we are pioneers. We are based out of Singapore. Our headquarters is in Singapore, and we are pioneers for the real estate investment trusts. We are pioneers for industrial space and for office space and also for retail space, all of them originating out of Singapore. If you had been to Singapore, it's very hard you would have missed CapitaLand. If you land at the airport Changi, the Changi Jewel, the latest sort of go-to place in the airport, was developed by us. And if you go to, I'm sure most of you end up going to Clarke Quay. The strip retail that was there was developed by us. You have Capital Towers, the tallest building that it was at one point in time, was developed by us. And Interlace, which was 2016's, won the award for the best architecture for residential buildings in 2016 was Interlace. That was also developed by us. So we have a lot of pedigree that comes along. India portfolio is about $4 billion. We have about 30 million square feet of space, split between 23 million in business parks, about 7 million in office parks. 90% is occupied, so which kinds of brings back to the same problem I told. We need to look at solutions for upgrading these business parks while they are still fully occupied. It's not going to work for us financially to sort of pull it all, vacate everybody, then do the redevelopment. And we are present across all the cities. This is another statistic which I tend to brag a little bit, is that among all the developers, you name the who's who, the biggest ones, we are the most diversified of all. We have a footprint across all the 6 major cities, significant footprint across all the major cities. We are present in business parks, we are present in industrial, we are present in data center, we are present in hospitality. So also the asset classes are quite diversified. About 11 million square feet under development. We do engage with, I'm sure a lot of our consultants are in this crowd. A lot of the solutions that we look for in this 11 million square feet has come from you people here. So I'm going to be thankful for that, and looking forward to work closely to make these future-proof as well, because it's like a human being, right? So if you're in a midlife crisis, you tend to hit the gym, but you wouldn't have a midlife crisis had you started going to the gym when you were younger. So similarly, a better designed product upfront is going to survive on the longer run. So what are we trying to look at? The solution, this is something which I'm keen to hear from today as well, is how do you future-proof these assets? The assets that, because it's a dynamic world, with the AI coming on board and IoT and all of it, how can we really future-proof? It's not just a brick and mortar as it used to be. Even the technologies are changing. Should it be steel? Should it be cast and seat, or should it be prefab, or could it be any other new technology that is coming by? And also, what are the sustainable ways of doing this? How do you enhance the aesthetics while at the same time ensuring that you're not burning the carbon, your carbon footprint is as minimalistic as possible. I think today's topic is really important from that front, because statistically speaking, your carbon footprint is significantly lower if you are able to upcycle or upscale an existing product, as against bringing it all down and demolishing it and building a new product. So from a ESG perspective, upcycling becomes extremely, extremely important. It's also about increasing value. When we started building office spaces, the rentals in Bangalore used to be about 25 to 30 bucks. Now it is touching 120 to 140 rupees. You can't service the client with the same set of services that or amenities that were available to him, and you're paying 25 while he's paying 120. So that is unfair. How do we capture that value is also important. That's something which I would love to hear about. And last but not the least is the community vibrancy itself. Community vibrancy can't just be restricted to newer buildings which can be better planned, but older buildings a lot, 70 to 80% of all the staff that go to work in buildings which are more than 10 years old. So they also need to be working in a vibrant space. So it is, as industry experts, it is our responsibility to ensure that they get to have a share in that vibrancy of office as well. Quickly, some of our marquee developments that we are coming up and what we are trying to do, just to give you a flavor of what is happening in the industry. Rooftops used to be where chillers used to be, stacked up. Now it's no more. Rooftops are becoming dynamic areas where you have sports activities, health and fitness activities, and you have parties, and you have hospitality activities happening as well. We did that in Avans. It actually has a swimming pool which is not visible here, but that was really appreciated. That was something which really the tenants appreciated a lot. This is International Tech Park Chennai, which again we are trying to asset enhance. This is something which we are taking up to see how we can remaster plan this property. It's an existing functional site, but we have competition right next door, which is doing a damn good job of developing a state-of-the-art facility. So we do want to compete in the same market, head-to-head. So therefore, we are trying to do asset enhancement of this property. And this is where it all started, ITPB in Bangalore. It's close to 28 years old since the development started. 25 years old is the first property. It still stands. It has aged quite well, but we are really looking at solutions of how we can enhance these assets and make them more relevant to the current, whatever generation Z or AA that is going to come up. Today's day is all about reimagining the spaces, reimagining the workspaces. As industry veterans, considering ourselves as among the largest developers in India, we are very keen to invest in reimagining spaces. So it is not just about cost, but it is also about quality. The industry is shifting, and I think you would all get a sense if you go to all the most recent developments in any city, you would realize that, you would agree that it is about how the quality of those spaces has significantly improved as against those that even came about just about 4 or 5 years ago. That journey has begun, and I think all the developer community has also realized that you need to spend to get the quality up, and we are willing to do that. So that's my quick PR on my company, and once again welcome you all, and thank you very much. Have a great day. Cheers.
And this, I would love to call on stage Bibhor Srivastav and Mr. Manoj Tomar, who is the founder for AFC's Furniture Solutions. Requesting both the gentlemen to please come on stage to felicitate our keynote speaker of the evening. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking your time out and sharing with us the span and expanse of what Capital Land is all about. And now moving on to the next industry address that we have. We have it from Swagata Chaudhary, who is the segment head of Office, Retail and Hospitality for Signify. Now, lighting is one really huge element in office buildings, and she's here to enlighten us about the offerings and the portfolio that Signify has for workspaces. Swagata, over to you.
Very good evening to this August gathering. In the next few minutes, I would like to talk about how Signify is making lives better through different elements of where we contribute, workspaces being just one of them. So I take back 2 elements from this video. I'm communicating through words. I think today light communicates. As we speak, we are carbon neutral 2 years ago. So when we are talking of workspaces which are evolving, we are contributing in a big way to sustainability. We operate across countries, and in all elements that we do, sustainability stands very strongly. In our offering, we also look at how we can contribute to the world in different elements that it is struggling with today. To start with climate action, so our base products become energy efficient as the technology advances. That is our key motto. We try and reduce our wastes into the world as it progresses. So we use high life cycle products which are recyclable over the end of life. We also contribute to making the world more sustainable by increasing the level of efficiency that a light can give in to become efficient in agro-businesses, just for example, for pisciculture as well. Safety and security goes without saying as an important element in what we do, whether that is connected lighting for home as well as outdoor spaces. And goes without saying, our offering is also very much driven towards health and well-being. Why? Because the products that we design, the solutions that we build, have this as a key element. As we were speaking, offices today are not just looking at elements of design, but also how they can make it more efficient in terms of employee comfort and well-being. So this becomes the star mark of the solution that we provide, whether that is through a base product or through the complete solution. And employee well-being and comfort is prime. Why? Because if I look at what our clients are investing, I think the biggest investment is going in their employees, whether that is in the way the desk space are occupied, how much of it is utilized at a per hour basis. So lighting today can actually help you get all that data that can make your spaces more efficient. This is data which shows that productivity is directly linked to the artificial light that is within a room. And since today, even with hybrid operations, we see that a lot of efficiency that is within the indoor space gets curtailed when the environment is not soothing for the person occupying the space. So just not data, but also softer aspects of well-being of people are taken care by lighting. Goes without saying, we were also hearing Gauri coming in and talking about how design is very critical, and in what we do, design forms the base. So that's here we are talking to a lot of creative people, trying and taking their inputs as to how we can make this aesthetically more appealing in terms of the product that is getting used in the interior spaces. And some of the products become statement just because of the design that they do. Moving ahead, the right design is also an element of how it makes a person comfortable within the space, whether it is in terms of tuning the light to the different color temperatures, if I may say, making it feel more natural within an artificial space is what our focus is through different elements. So we do not make this product stand out as just a lighting product. We try and embed that in the ceiling or in the wall or the floor and see how it can just merge into the interiors that is getting designed on. Our solutions do not limit only to interior spaces. So we can really make a building beautify by just working on the facade. So whether it's an old building, a new one coming up, we can look at solutions. And here we not only take up individual products, but we also take a turnkey solution providing different elements of design to even long-term maintenance of that system for it to run the life. Going ahead, solar solutions today are applicable in different areas, and this makes the whole campus much more sustainable. Our solar solutions today, both for indoor and outdoor applications with high element of efficiency, is making this campus also turn equally vibrant and energy efficient. Finally, a slide which talks about why you should select Signify. I think the major message that I would like to leave across with this audience here is not only a product, but when we take up end-to-end solutions, we try and become your preferred partner, and that is what we like to take ahead from all of you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swagata, for giving us that quick preview into what Signify and its portfolio is all about. Now, moving on to the next session of the day. This one's a real interesting one too. And we have this speaker joining us all the way from Hyderabad. He took his day out and the time out to join us here. And I would love to introduce our expert keynote address of the evening, Mr. Venkat Neelakantan, who is the global head for corporate real estate services at Capgemini. He is also the global head of sustainability and office transformation with the company and manages a range of responsibilities that span real estate rationalization and strategy across the globe for Capgemini Group. Capacity management and planning, transactions and facility management, asset management, transformation, and workplace digitalization. This individual has it all under his wings. And yes, these are some of the most critical aspects in a workplace environment. And we are so thankful that he could take his time out to join us and give us a quick glimpse on how he does it all. With this, I would love to call on stage Mr. Venkat.
Thank you very much for having me over. I will try and cover all the three topics that Gauri had indicated in terms of transformation of workspaces, in terms of the topic itself, which is upcycling, in terms of sustainability, what do we do, and of course, what does waste management do? And while doing so, I will be taking a little global view in this. One is to show off that I'm a global leader. Second is to highlight that what we are trying to do, we're trying to do it across the globe. It's not something that is relevant just for us sitting here. It's something that a problem we are all addressing across the globe. To give a brief about the company, we are spread across 48 countries, and we have close to 350,000 employees working in our offices across the world. And in India, we have around 190,000 people. We have around 13 locations that operate out of India, and we have a good amount of those locations which we own, which sort of puts us in a similar challenge that you have, Gauri. How do we keep these facilities alive? How do we keep them attractive for our people to come back? I mean, I use the word come back to office because we are trying hard to get everybody back to office after the pandemic. We have given this second life to a lot of things. And one thing that has always found a space in our home is that money plant. A bottle that comes to a house could be a nice whiskey bottle or an alcohol bottle, beautiful in shape, not sure about the content. But once it's over, it will find a space in our home somewhere. And the one that goes inside that is that money plant. I'm sure many of you will lift your hands to agree with me. No? Yes? Thank you. Let's engage ourselves, please. It's a little odd to look about, I don't know, 100 people looking at me, and I'm trying to look at each one of you when I'm having this conversation. But yes, this has begun many, many, many years ago, and we've tried to emulate this practice of reuse, right? We do it at home. But the philosophy that has become very prevalent today, and which is very important today, is the circular economy. We talk about it. A lot of corporates have started thinking about it and started practicing in terms of what do we do with the things that we use. So the first question we ask ourselves is, do we need everything? Or can we sort of reduce or concise in terms of what we need? So the topic is when we produce, when we distribute, right? There's a production, there's a distribution. We start using it. Everything is very well. But then comes the biggest challenge. What do we do when I want to upgrade? What do we do when I want to change it? When we want to shift from what we have? What do we do to dispose what we have already? I think that's where the challenge we have today. How can we recycle it? Is there a possibility for recycling? Well, that's an important question. Not everything is recyclable, right? But what can we reduce in terms of going to landfill? We sort of work on sort of about 5 principles, but the key principle is it sort of puts a challenge on how we design those elements. Will it last the tide of time? Can we increase the shelf life? Right? I think that's something we are all trying to do. Manufacturers, users, investors, etc., saying how do I increase the shelf life of the products that are being created? The second thing is so close to our culture, so close to what we have been used to. If you go back home and ask your generation earlier, or maybe part of it, we always came with the point that if something did not work, we had a mechanic to correct it. An iron doesn't work, we will take it to an electrical shop and say, hey, you know what, you change it. It could be the plug, it could be the wire, it could be the whole thing that's thick, but we try and repair it and sort of increase the lifespan of it. But then we reached a point where we say affordability became better. When things didn't work, we said, okay, let's just dump it. We will get a new one. We don't care when it is dumped, we'll just put it in the bin. We started creating those ways. But if you look at our forefathers, they've always said, try and reuse it, repair it, share it, donate it. It's always been there in our principles. And that's what we're trying to propagate today in the way we run our businesses. It's not something new. It's not something that we are trying to teach or bring a new statistical environment here. It is available within us. We just have to awaken it and see, can I apply those principles? Can I reuse them? Can I repair? Can I make the product live longer? That's a key question. Of course, there are many things. Once you make it live longer, what do I do in terms of reuse? What do I do in terms of refurbishing? And how do I recycle it? That's an ongoing cycle. We have to find a way to reduce our filling of the landfill. For me, or for my colleagues in the organization, the biggest asset we have is our chair. Right? We have workstation, but if you look at the volume of people, chair is our biggest asset. That's why we took this example to show you. What do we do with the chairs? I mean, when I said I got 190,000 people in the office, I have about 190,000, yeah, don't worry, be happy. No, that's fine. That's a good ringtone to have. So you have 190,000 chairs. What do we do with it? It's a constant churn of requirement. Either the chair breaks, or you got to buy a new one, or new model has come, better lumbar support, better ergonomics. It's always better, 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 better. Unfortunately, the old becomes absolutely useless. So we have started looking at ways to source it. We source from organizations or manufacturers where they develop it in a sustainable manner. That's key. So their entire production cycle, we understand how they have ensured that it is produced in a sustainable way. And that's the sourcing strategy behind it. It's quite an arduous task to get the hang of it, but we try and do our best, and it's something we are evolving over time. Then we look at, can we purchase furniture that has been recycled? It's available. Can we reuse it? Is it in good shape? So questions we are asking. The answers may not be 100%, but we started at least asking those questions. Thereby, when we go to usage, we are using assets whose life has been extended. We are not taking new ones. We sort of delayed that decision for a certain period of time. In today's world, after pandemic, we hardly had anybody coming to work, right? Now, if I were to change my asset as frequently as I used to do prior to 2020, it's absolutely not necessary. So you start questioning your actions. Is it absolutely essential for me to make such investments? Can I buy something that is available? And I'll show you some examples globally how we have addressed that. It's quite interesting, especially on matters of furniture. And of course, how do we look at disposal? Can we donate it? Is there anybody who wants it, can buy it from us? We're not in the profit business, but at least you pay a marginal amount and you take those assets and use it at home. And that's why I said I'll give you some global examples that will be relevant to what we are talking today. Since pandemic, globally, we started transforming our offices. I mean, there was there was Signify, Capital Land, all talking about changing our office spaces, which means what can we do more with less, right? We're all thinking about it. The purpose and the role of offices have changed significantly. Today, none of us go to office to sit for 8 hours and log that card. We go because we want to talk to people, we want to collaborate, we want to converse, we want to discuss, bring in that intimacy between people, have lunch, coffee, whatever, and then disperse them. I can do that laptop or whatever email, I can do it at home, programming at home. We don't have to be sitting across the table to do that. So when we started consolidating, we had a lot of assets. So for our Rosemont office, which we in Chicago, which we were sort of reducing the capacity, we leveraged many of the furniture and moved them to Nashville. It's not next door. We moved them to Nashville. And today, with our partners, we are able to calculate the amount of carbon footprint that we have avoided. That's a key measure. It's a key step. It's not the final step. It's a key step in determining what do we do with the assets we have. Probably there was a time we wouldn't bother. New business case, new assets, approved, you go, you buy, everything is new. The rest is up to somebody who wants to dispose it, take it, use it, whatever. But if you look at Rosemont, if you look at Chicago, all these are classic examples where we have reused our assets. And not just one or two, a significant amount of them. What did we do with that balanced furniture? We stored them for future use. We did not say that we don't need it, so dispose it. We stored them for future because we are in constant refurbishment of our office spaces. That will be useful at some point in time. It's just not relevant or useful today, right now. But in time, you will need a sofa, you will need a table, you will need a chair, you might need a workstation. It is there, we can reuse it. It's a culture that we are trying to imbibe within ourselves to get to the fact that let's start saving what we have and use it to the best possible extent. When we go to Europe, when we go to Nordics, it's a little hard to read. I tried to put it diagrammatically, which is too difficult to put it in a picture format. Here what happened is, in Nordics, we were bringing down the number of offices, which means we were inundated with assets. We don't have office spaces to store and keep them for a future use. So we partnered with somebody called Room Expo. And it's a very simple thing. They have an Excel sheet. And you register all your assets in that Excel sheet. Table, sofa, chairs, workstations, whatever it is, you start registering. And they're sort of like a bank, store and track of it. When you need, you can take from them and reuse it. When you reach a point it's not needed for you, they will actually make sure it is donated to somebody. Isn't it interesting? Because I don't know what the people here wants. I don't know, honestly, I don't know. But if there is some aggregator who is able to bring together the demand and supply of assets that are reusable, we have won the game partly, collectively. And what do we do? When these assets are given, there's a small mark on the top of that asset to say it's a recycled asset. We're not hiding. It is visible. It's already in place. It's already in practice. When you go to Poland, we had two interesting scenarios here. In Poland, during the pandemic, we did help the employees to give them assets at home, and they took the chairs, etc. that was available, right? However, the interesting point is on the right. We supported the families who were affected in Ukraine. House is gone, nothing available. Anything that is available is useful to them. They are not choosing, oh, this is not new, this color is not good. There is a need. And that need we could suffice because we realized we could use it for different offices, but we realized that in Katowice, where we were housing them, we could use this furniture And it sort of benefits people, especially those who didn't have at that point in time. Again, we had zero waste, zero disposal. All the examples I've given you thus far are zero disposal. We're trying to figure out how to calculate the carbon saved, etc., etc. It's quite a complex algorithm, calculating carbon. But we will get there one day. But if you look at it, simple exercises, simple actions, but effective outcomes. And that's the, and this, we weren't talking about circular economy, zero waste, etc. This is something we started doing ourselves. We did a similar story in France. When we started consolidating, there were 784, and this is in Toulouse. There were 784 assets that were there, and 616 were taken by employees or whoever wanted. So the number of assets we had to actually dispose were brought down. I'm giving you true examples because it is to indicate we have to act. And the act doesn't have to be very strategic, big, complex. It is a very simple act. It's a very simple act. In India, just to take up one point of transforming offices, we are doing a large transformation in Pune, very large transformation in Pune, spanning over 2 years. We are doing our best because this is a building, and this is one of the first topic that was there in the introduction. This is a building which is about 25, 26 years old, and it has reached the end of life. The arteries, kidneys, livers of the building are just about functioning. Not sure which will give up first. We decided we will refurbish it. The challenge we have today, and we are working hard to solve it, is what do we do with this 26-year-old material that is being removed? The engineers, some of them is sitting in this room, worked hard to ensure that the facade is maintained. We will not break the facade. The exteriors will remain. We will do whatever it takes to retain the exterior so that we don't unnecessarily break items. We will only take away items which are absolutely essential. And we will work carefully in the way we dispose them. Carefully. We will not just pile them up somewhere. One lorry goes off, SEZ signs or whatever, and then everything is done. No. We will carefully work to make sure that they are disposed carefully. So these actions are in motion. I'll be very proud to probably stand later, whenever it is, if there is an opportunity, and if ITV Media liked what I did today, later when there is an opportunity, share what more we have done. Maybe we would have matured ourselves in our actions, in our outcomes. But one thing that we have done very well since 2020 is an action on renewable energy. We used the opportunity in 2020 when people were away at home, taking care of themselves and their loved ones, to install solar plants across the office spaces that is there. Today, we generate close to 11.5 megapixel of solar energy. And I'm very proud to stand here and say all our Indian offices are 100% renewable energy. All our Indian offices. All of them. It is I think it's one of the only kind in India today, and I'm very proud to stand and say the team has done a marvelous job, including our leased facilities, not just own, including our leased facilities. This 11.7 megawatt of peak of renewable energy or solar energy is generated in our campuses that we have. We have a campus in Bangalore, we have a campus in Hyderabad, we have a large campus in Mumbai, so on and so forth. And we have the largest solar park in Mumbai, which itself generates about 3.8 to 3.9 megawatt peak of solar energy. Such investments require capital. Agreed. I mean, some of you are wondering, capital is there, but it requires intent. Capital is always available. Yes, it's not always available. Sorry, I'll rephrase this. Capital sometimes available, not available. But it doesn't have to be the scale we are talking always. Intent is essential. You spoke about lights area. he spoke about lights. Lights form a critical component in this whole story. We've got so much of sun, abundance of sun. We have used that in all our campuses. Solar park, where there's a huge land, all the car parks have got panels. We have something called a solar tree. That's in Hyderabad. So you're welcome to come and enjoy it. It's actually a beautiful sight in the night. This whole thing is lit just through LED lights supported by solar. It looks beautiful to sit under that and work, especially, but not in April and May of Hyderabad. I wouldn't advise you. But if you like to get roasted, you're welcome. But all other parts of the year, it's a brilliant time to sit underneath and work. Fresh oxygen and natural light. This is the solar park. But what did we do? In 2021, we launched this solar park. We didn't stop with that. We started generating more than what we need. So when we are generating more than what we need, gives us an opportunity to store and use them. We create opportunities from the resources we have. So when we started storing the energy we generated in a battery, we started using it later in the evening. Therefore, the entire day is on renewable energy. And also we started working on the concept of peak shaving, where you generate this electricity when the charges are low, and you use them during the night when your costs are high, utility prices are high. So it also helps you in your operational cost management. Simple actions anyway. None of this is, of course, technically it's hard, but if you look at a larger outcome, these are simple actions, very effective outcome. We have partnered with PPAs in Chennai, where they set up solar park for us, and we wheel in that green energy to our offices. These are the actions we have taken to transform our offices to 100% renewable. Of course, we've also looked at areas where we will look at working on the emissions from our various equipments, air handling units, whatever you name it. You know, they consume a lot of energy, they throw out a lot of emission. We have sort of modified, invested in them to look at more modern equipments which have lesser emission. Lights, solar lights, you can sort of sensor-based lights. You walk, it turns on. So every basement, if you look at it, workstations, it is sensor-based. So no movement after a period of time, the light's off. Small actions again for a sustainable future. Solar street lights. So what you see in that path and across the campus, it's solar street lights. Yes, we worked with you on that. So there are opportunities for us to consider. And our next big goal, and now that we have targeted the renewable energy, we have targeted the emission, we've also transformed our car fleet from conventional fuel to electric. The car fleet that picks our employees from home to office, about 30-35% of them have already been transformed to electric vehicle. And in India alone, we have close to 500 charging stations. And we are sort of encouraging employees, if they have an electric vehicle, to come and charge their car. Two benefits: you get to charge your car and you also come to office. We're trying. But that's a behavior change. We need to encourage people to procure electric vehicles. We have the infrastructure. Similarly, we want to focus extensively from here on the waste management. The amount of waste we generate at office is not a joke. I'm sure all of you will realize you run large campuses, large business houses. The amount of food, the amount of IT assets, they're not a joke. How do we address that? So this is something we are maturing into, but some insights. We have a platform which tells us how we utilize our water, how the sewage treatment plant is transforming this into a usable water. So there are tools. IoT based, which are tracked in something called an energy command center. It gives us real-time info on how this whole thing works. What do we do with the water? We make sure that they're used for plants or back into the restroom. I don't know whether that falls under upcycling, but definitely recycling. It's an action. It's a call to action. We have so much of water. We use so much of water. What can we do with the one that comes out? So we have a sewage treatment plant in our office, in our campuses, which converts them into reusable water. And trust me, all our plants really look green and healthy. It's working well. And we also support that with the organic waste converter. The compost is available for employees to take home and use it for their garden, and it is used for our purposes as well. Why I brought these specific examples for this August audience is, I was thinking about talking strategically what can happen, what we should do, the future is bright or future isn't, so we need to do something for the future is bright. But for me, personally, it was about highlighting what actions we have taken. I always believe these forums are a great platform to exchange actions, ideas, experiences. If it is relevant, you take it forward. If we hear something that is important for us, we take it forward. I think that's the benefit I see. And I think all of us can together be the architects of positive future. So with that, as the slide says, that's the end of it. I don't know if I'm within time or outside of time. Perfect? Excellent. She's come with the plaque as well. So the time's up. Thank you.
That was one brilliant presentation. You have no idea. I unfortunately missed the start, but of what I caught, it was really mind-blowing, the scale at which the simple things, you say it's simple things, but the multiplication on which you've been working on, it is really more, and less is more. You've taught us how to do more with less. But thank you so much for that great, I don't even want to say presentation, it was literally a learning experience. Thank you so much. And with this, I would quickly call on stage Indrajit Saoji, the Group Publishing Director with ITP Media, and Mr. Vikas Malhotra, the Commercial Leader for Systems and Services with Signify, to please hand over the small token of appreciation from our end.
Thank you, Rashmi, for being so kind.
No.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very
A
much.
huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for such a great and well-put experience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Venkat. This next one is a pretty quizzy session that we have from you for all of you here. We heard him talk so much about the operations, the strategies, the initiatives, and everything that the company's taken, from the sustainable measures of organic waste to the furniture, how they've looked into to creating informal seatings under solar lights. These are some real innovative strategies that I have come across, and but I think we heard a lot from him, and I've got someone here to quiz him on these things, to question him his strategies and the initiatives and how this all has come about. So I'm gonna introduce our next speaker of this evening for the fireside chat with industry leaders, Ms. Leila Khalil, who is the Director and Real Estate for Real Estate and Workspace Services Salesforce, and joining him is the man himself, Mr. Venkat Neelakantan, who is the Global Head for Corporate Real Estate Services at Capgemini. So, Leila, I'm going to give this over to you to quiz this man who's given us so much to think about now.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's great to be here, and it's great to see this hall full. And Venkat, it looks like I've got to quiz you now. I mean, do you want the chair? Yeah, I'll join you in a bit. All right. Okay, so we've had some great speakers up here who have been introducing us to some wonderful concepts, some ongoing trends when it comes to upcycling of workplaces, but also we've touched upon, what does that mean from an ESG perspective? So the next segment, which I'm going to share with Venkat, is that I want to delve a little bit into how we are meeting some of those ESG targets, particularly when it comes to managing the corporate real estate portfolio. So we know that, over the past couple of months, the entire corporate real estate industry has been inundated with a lot of inquiries or demands when it comes to the ESG front. And what this means is that it kind of extends the entire life cycle, whether it's just, whether it's like design, whether it's construction, or even just managing the space. And I think what we want to talk about is, how can we efficiently do that? Amongst the various shifts that we have witnessed, facility managers, or more as they are popularly known these days as workplace experts, now also have to adapt to a more proactive perspective when it comes to meeting certain strategic CRE objectives. And that includes being net zero and having a great employee experience, and also checking on some future goals when it comes to the workplace. While ESG targets have gained widespread acknowledgement, there's also a growing and increasing lack of clarity. What does this all mean? And how does this fit into our work? What opportunities exist for a corporate real estate professional? And how are these challenges being converted into opportunities so that they play a vital role in meeting compliance, talent management, employee wellness, performance, and operational sustainability? So the man that I already have here, Mr. Venkat Neelkantan, he has shared so much in terms of what his organization is doing. But we also find ourselves in the crux of so many aspects that require attention. From bringing employees back to the office, I know many of us have experienced that challenge, and we are constantly trying to gaze into the crystal ball to give us new ideas and suggestions how we can do that. We're also trying to see ways and methods of how we can optimize our real estate portfolio and how we can introduce more ESG targets into that. Based on the research that was published by architecture2030.org, the built environment contributes to 40% of emissions. And if you were to split this out, about 27% is generated from building operations. That's not a surprise. But we also have 6% of that being contributed from the construction industry, and the remaining 7% comes from the other industries or the manufacturing industries which support the design and construction industry. So with that short introduction, I'm going to join you at the chairs. So you spoke a lot, you touched upon various topics of how recycle plays an important role, of how reuse plays an important role. However, when it comes to the ESG targets within the corporate real estate life cycle, what is the significance that it has, and where does it, how is it getting prioritized in the overall scheme of things? Would you like to throw some light on that?
Oh, absolutely. I think some part of my annual appraisal is related to what I've done on sustainability. So I don't think I can shy away from actions. I think one of the points that you had there was, how does corporate real estate or folks work on sustainability, right? Whatever actions I indicated in my conversation with you a few minutes ago were all actions done by the workplace services and corporate real estate team. It wasn't an external consultant. It wasn't an industry expert. It is the team here, the team within my organization sat across and found opportunities that we can do in terms of transforming our workplace services. How do we manage the waste? How do we procure green electricity, or what do we do to reduce our emissions? So it was designed by people who absolutely know what happens in that office premise. And I don't think anybody else would have been in a position to determine what is essential at that ground zero.
I mean, you shared some examples of how you were reusing the furniture, whether it was for your own use or you have contributed that to the benefit of the societies or certain communities. What were some of the challenges you experienced there, and how did you overcome some of those challenges?
There are always challenges when you try to do something differently. I think the biggest challenge is today in terms of design, what do I do if I were to force fit some of the existing furniture, right? Because you want a more vibrant and modern office. You already have certain furniture. How do we force fit that into my design? Second challenge is there's always an expectation of new. I was talking to some colleagues from this for a few some time back. There is this expectation of new when somebody is coming to office, right? I want a new desk, I want a new chair, and everything has to be new. The moment it's a little recycled, and you're like, oh God, that's not new. So it's a mindset that we need to work together in changing, and that's what I think I intended to say. It is not just about the capital, it is about the intent, and we are working very hard to get to people, to make them understand what we are doing, why we are doing, and how we intend to do. We have a very strong goal. By 2025, we have to be carbon neutral. That's a very strong goal, and I think we are ahead in the race to achieve in India for the matter. But we have, like, there are multiple scopes, right? Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3. We are trying to address the 1 and 2, which is within our perimeter. But the biggest challenge is how do we work with our partners to address various Scope 3? Because somebody else's Scope 3 could be my Scope 1 or Scope 2, right? So there is a complexity in this conversation, and we will have to cross that barrier as we get close to it.
All right, great. Venkat, I have to tell you that this is a unique opportunity for me because I'm sitting here speaking to the head of global real estate for an organization based out of India. You mentioned that you have a presence in more than 40 countries.
Yes.
And you service more than 350,000 employees.
Absolutely.
When it comes to your overall organizational objectives, and more specifically within the workplace stream, how easy or difficult has it been for you to propagate these ideas when it comes to having a more sustainable footprint? And by that, I don't only mean about the employees or the leadership. I'm also talking about your engagement with partners. Where are we when it comes to the maturity of these ideas, and how do you manage that across different global regions? Because everybody's at different stages of understanding. One of the concerns that I did speak about initially was the lack of clarity, right? I mean, most organizations, they do see this as something that needs to be done, but they don't have a starting point. And unfortunately, in some cases, it's also being done as a check mark. How are you making sure that this isn't just another check mark for you?
The journey for us started in 2015. It's not something we started in 2020. It started in 2015, and it was done with simple actions of using the sun as much as we can. We then took drastic actions based on the various conversations that took place in the world forums, etc. And we said what concrete actions we need to take to increase the speed of our implementation or our transformation. So we built a program for, I think, next 5-6 years. I'm talking about 2021, 2020. We built a program for 5 years up to 2025, and we have achieved all of that. We have had fantastic support from the leadership, and the goals are extremely clear. At the same time, as we have matured in our own internal actions, we have started communicating with our partners to see what can they offer, what are they doing, what's happening behind the scenes, what is their production value chain, how is it sustainable. We have started asking those questions, we started understanding their actions, we've started setting our expectation. So I think the meeting of minds is happening. We have made progress in some areas, but I think there is still a long way to go for us to collectively address those areas. But you're right, it's a complex program. There is no one straight answer. But I am a firm believer there are actions in front of us which I don't think it requires a major strategy, and we can do it as individuals as a first step towards a sustainable future.
Wonderful. also in the way how the workplace has evolved in the past 10 to 15 years, right? I mean, there's an ever-increasing need and demand to integrate technology or IoT, right? It's again become a very fancy terminology for workplace experts to speak about it and to integrate it in almost everything, every service, every employee experience they want to offer. What's your take on that?
Well, my take on that, I shouldn't be the only one who's not played a video in front of you. So I'll request Madhu to play a video. This question was there, how technology helps us, and I think it will answer the question.
One day, all of this will not exist. No more pollution. Not because we will run out of energy, but because the world would have transitioned fully to 100% renewable energy. And that's where we come in. Capgemini stands future-ready at the forefront of innovation and has already transitioned to 100% renewable energy across Capgemini offices in India.
I think he deserves the ovation, not me. Thank you, Vish. Yes, back to you.
Extremely.
This answers the IoT?
Yes, I
There you
mean,
go.
it does. At least it does scratch the surface of the potential it holds and how far it can transform the entire experience and the life cycle of how you manage your assets.
It does, because there was question about, the cost of your facility management is going up. This helps us to clearly analyze what we are generating, what our demand is, and where are we leaking. That helps us take timely actions. It's not about maintenance alone. It's not about service. This is about effectively using what is the temperature you need in this room for as many people are there. If not so many people are there, do you still need this 23 degrees Celsius? And that timely action saves energy.
Right, that's interesting. So one of the things, that sort of like blew me away, before I arrived to this conference and when I was doing my reading was to know about how much of what percentage this industry contributes to the carbon emission, right? And I also heard you mention a little bit about how measuring and reporting this is a challenge. But for, say, somebody who wants to get started on that journey, what are some of the tips that you can share for that?
Well, I think, as I always said, there is actions in front of you. There is opportunity in front of you. And what we have done in addition to the actions taken as a company is to invoke this importance of sustainability to our employees. There are many people sitting in the organization who don't have an opportunity to express their ideas because, in the corporate world, one gets lost. So we have set up something called BRG, a business resource group, where employees with similar mindset can come, share. Could be as simple as cycle to work. Venkat, make sure that there is a cycling track or there is a cycle storage environment available at office, whatever it might be. But when people start at that ground level and it sort of percolates, you change at home slowly and you change your workplace collectively as well. So it starts with the individual, although at corporates we have to deliver our goals, etc. But I believe it starts with the individual.
Yes, and I think that was also very beautifully articulated at the start of your address earlier this evening. I just love the way how you started off with the simple examples of what you do at home, but then how they can be scalable at a much larger level, and especially by organizations. So, and I think today was extremely insightful, and I think it was such an eye-opening session, which I'm sure was for many of us, because you have definitely at least shown one way forward how we can, go towards a more green, sustainable, ESG-oriented mindset and philosophy. And so for that, I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you, Laila. Sorry? No, I meant questions.
Yes,
That
does
was,
the audience have any questions?
Good evening, Venkat. Ritu here from Boeing.
Yes, I remember, Peter, of course.
It was really, really treat to listen to you this evening. And, me and Fancy were just exchanging our thoughts about, you shared a beautiful journey of what you do with aging buildings. And I think that was the challenge. And I think for us at Boeing, it's all about sustainable by design. So we are building new assets. That's the need of, from a business standpoint, and how do we bake in sustainability. I had a question on one of your points that you'd made earlier with regards to sourcing sustainable furniture. And a question to you is that it's always believed that sourcing something sustainable is more expensive. What are your thoughts? Is that a myth or a truth? What's been your experience?
Sustainability has come at a price. Today it is at a price because we are losing something. It is also a price because we are going to spend to bring back our resource. So it's a double-edged sword. But it is not always true, Ritu, because just as me, my colleagues, we're trying to do something, you and your colleagues are trying to do something, and there is a reason why certain prices have gone up. And if it is in the interest of the future, if it is something unavoidable and it is collectively giving us a planet that is going to be resourceful, I'm sure we will bite the bullet. But at the same time, like we have invested in our solar energy, yes, there is an investment and there is a return of investment. But once you're generating 11.5 megawatt peak of solar power, your ROI is pretty quick. So it works both ways. It's how you want to look at it. What's your priority? No question for her?
No, I can actually would like to expand with a response to that question, Ritu. And I think, a couple of years ago, I also had this whole perspective when it came to procurement. And I think when you look at procurement costs in isolation, yes, you may question whether it's viable. But, when you look into, what the philosophy may be behind, having a net zero target and how you're getting forward with that journey. I mean, for me and my organization, it is about health, it is about the carbon emissions, it's about circularity, it's about the resource management, and it's about social and governance. And these principles are applied across the entire value chain. It's, with the partners you engage with, it's, how the manufacturing is done, and when you look at all those aspects across the value chain, you may be spending more in maybe one area, but if you see the net effect or gain could be much higher with lower costs. I don't know if that makes sense, but I've begun to be very convinced with that idea now.
So unfortunately, due to the restraint on time,
so
I'm gonna just this. But thank you so much, Leila, and thank you so much, Venkat, for coming in. I'm just gonna call in Mr. Tungaram Singh, who is the country head for AFC Furniture Solutions, to please to give a small token of appreciation from our end to both the speakers.
Pleasure.
Pleasure calling you the complete name.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
It is really a pleasure listening to both of you. Yes, that's our sustainable standpoint, giving off.
I promise to use the box. Thank you.
Well,
thank you very
so much. Thank you, Leila. Thank you so much, Mr. Venkat. So now, before we head to the next session, I have a quick industry address by Mr. Jiten Basnet, who is the country manager for AFC Furniture Solutions, to run us through a quick glimpse into what their portfolio is all about. They are known to stick to their timelines with the quality, and I think they completely embrace it and own it. So with this, I'm going to call on stage Jiten to give us a quick introduction about the brand.
Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Myself, Jiten Basnet. I represent a company called AFC Furniture Solution. Today, in a very short, I would just like to brief why AFC, who we are, what we do, and how we do. In AFC, we have conceptualized in 2008. Our founder, before 2008, he was a sales executive, and then later he was into semiconductor industry, and later he realized the gap between the stakeholders and then the clients. To fulfill the gap between the stakeholders and the clients, he thought that why not we as AFC deliver the products, sustainable products, good quality, in shortest delivery timeline possible. So with that vision, we AFC in 2008 we have conceptualized, and then in 2010, sustainability, keeping in mind the sustainability and Make in India at core, we have started manufacturing the modular furnitures. And in 2014, as we move upstairs to the ladders, of the growth and success. In 2014, we have expanded our product portfolio as well, and then the employees of more than 150 employees in 2015. And moving forward in 2017 to scatter the delivery and to meet the delivery timelines and everything, our founder, 2017, we have set up a manufacturing setup in Greater Noida, which is 2.5 lakh square feet of area, and then which is fully automated. In this building, we have, in 2019, we have set up a nanotech powder coating that's in-house, and then we have also have 2 in-house lab tests for the wood and then for the metals also. So for us, the sustainability with a good quality, we don't compromise in quality. So how we ensure the quality to be checked? So what we do is we have a test lab, we have a quality plan of actions. So daily basis, we do testings everyday basis. That's how we ensure the quality. And as in 2022, we have hit another milestone by acquiring Wipro Modular Furnitures. And then in 2023, we have expanded our new campus, AFC campus in Greater Noida, which we have a experience center of 22,000 square feet of area. And then from there, we have started manufacturing phone booths as well. And then we have started the new product that's a veneer solution as well for a premium sections. And then who we are. So what we do is we are into manufacturing modular furnitures. So cabin tables, workstations, cabin tables, storages, compactors, educationals. And then we as AFC in earlier before 2019, we are into BSFI sector, IT, and then education sectors. After pandemic in 2020, after pandemic 2022, we have started delivering the products in pan-India basis in corporate also. And then how we ensure the quality, we have a fully automated machines and everything. And then we do the wood test, laminate test, and sustainability as the topic today. The event itself says the upcycling, the workspaces and transforming. So these days what happened earlier, the workspaces, what happens is that they used to have a salvage doors, cubicles, and then these days what happens is every client, they have their own design-oriented solutions. So for AFC, we are very, very, very open to customization, and we customize as per the client's requirement. We have our own R&D team. We have a team of more than 600 employees. That's how we are able to deliver. And then we also have a 93% of client retention. And then the projects we have done recently is that we have done Razorpay, and then we have done KPMG, we have done Tech Mahindra, and then we have done Concentrix as well on one of the projects. So going forward, what AFC stands is that we, as a sustainable furnitures, so sustainability, we always, what happens is that we minimize the cost, aesthetic-wise, design-wise, and we always try to explore new ideas. So new ideas is the greatest leaders who are in the industry. They always, we try to understand what the requirement is, and we try to incorporate what the design aesthetics. We try to understand the requirements, and we also do the market research, and we also do the contemporary workstation these days. The minimalistic, the more minimalistic these days are in open spaces, and then the well-being of the employee as well. So looking all the aspects, so we at AFC, what we do is we try to deliver a high quality with the shortest delivery timeline possible. The manufacturing capacity which we have is around 15 to 20,000 workstations in 1 month, and then 10,000 to 15,000 seating solutions. And then there are some of the, we have in 2023, we have expanded our presence in pan-India across. We have set up one Bangalore. Recently, we have inaugurated one experience center in Indiranagar. And after this, we have another experience center very soon launching in Mumbai. And going forward with the support of the industry leaders, we are expanding, and with all the support, we are trying to deliver the best with the high quality. So that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jiten. And I'm going to quickly move on to the next session, which is aptly termed as the rapid fire round. Honest to God, I have no idea what's coming up onto stage, but I'm so excited to understand and see what the two speakers we have here for this rapid fire round have for us here today. And with this, I'm going to welcome Renuka Rajgopal, who is the Senior Director for Workplace at VMware Inc. And joining her is Praveen Vasudeva, the Director for Global Real Estate APAC in Japan at IBM. With this, I'm going to hand over the stage to both of these individuals.
Try to keep it rapid fire. Huh?
Thank you, ITP, for bringing us together, and such a great topic and like immersive discussions that have been happening. So this is going to be slightly different. The topic here is upcycling and transforming workplaces. But like Venkat rightly covered, it's just not the workplace alone. It's about us. Every one of us can contribute to this endeavor, efforts, and it all starts from home. So this discussion that we are having today between both of us, it's all about going a little up close and real. So it's both personal and professional. So we're going to make it a little fun round. Anybody from the audience who wants to participate, please join us. It's going to be a little different. It's not much of homework. It's what actually you really do. So that's where we start from. So thank you, Venkat, for giving us a segue into the topic. So waste isn't a waste until we really waste it. So how many of you align to this thought? Please raise your hands if you do. Yeah, so that's what this discussion is all about. And the question is, can everyone contribute? Of course, yes. And with me is Praveen. Everyone knows Praveen. And to me, I was just writing about my intro to Praveen, and he said not to speak about it. Renuka, don't set any high expectations, but I really want to. So I'm going to go ahead with it. So I said Praveen is a walking, talking encyclopedia on various topics of real estate, workplace, lake rejuvenation, philanthropy, community work, and lots more. So that's setting expectations there, Praveen. So let's get on to the topic. Upcycling is everyone's responsibility and not just a hobby. Your thoughts on the same? And your earliest memories on upcycling. Where did it start in your journey, personally, professionally?
See, I mean, honestly, it should be a way of life, right, for me personally. If you look at, people practice this in bits and pieces, but if you just think through some of that, you actually have done a lot of that, right? So for me, the point here is reusing, repurposing is been a part of human ingenuity throughout the history, right? When they are actually challenged with resources, right? You look at simple things like, at least for me in my childhood experiences, when your mom had a sari that she wanted to dispose, she used to reuse it for something, right? I still remember the tins that used to come had a different purposes. They were not disposed of. So these are things that I'm sure all of you have experienced throughout your life, of how a particular element which you think was a waste has been repurposed. But I think the point is, if you look at human history, right, whenever they are challenged with resources or through any other needs, they have actually come out with solutions of how they can repurpose a particular waste or things that they have really used. I mean, for me, things like, it goes back again to childhoods. I don't know how many of you remember the ice cream candies, right? Those sticks, you used to stick it up and, create, a pen stand or something like that, right? And I still remember the Kisan jam tins, right, which used to get wrapped with some creative work. This is all, crafts during the school. So, I mean, honestly, those were things that I just recollected when all the other speakers were thinking through, right? I'm sure all of us have honestly experienced some of these.
Same here. I think my journey starts with my grandmom. Like you said, dhotis and saris and all of that into mattress covers and all of that. And when it came to my mom, it's being more creative. And she liked to paint. So then I think some part of my creative life came from there, because I used to be the assistant for every work that she had to do. She used to put it on a mattress and she used to paint. And then when she's making some dress, it's not only for me, it could be for my neighbors and some similar kids of similar age. So I think it all starts from there. I think going to taking it to the end of life, those days was very important, but I think most of us didn't understand. To me, I didn't understand the concept until very, very late. So, okay, so what is the fundamental difference between upcycling and recycling? One line, this rapid fire.
Very difficult. I think both lead to the same purpose of trying to contain resources. right, and reduce the impact on environment. I think there's a fundamental difference on how I look at it. Recycling is all about a waste which is broken down into pieces, and you completely refurbish into something very new. Upcycling is more about how do you take that particular waste or a product and trying to find a new purpose and bring in higher value out of it, right? That's how I see it. Try and extend the lifespan, or stretch the lifespan. I think some of us know in the facility management, hey, run it until it fails, right? You try to stretch the thing until it fails. So that's my sort of definition, but I don't know what the industry definition is. I'm just trying to put it simple.
To everybody who's starting on their journey of upcycling, what are the 2 or 3 guiding principles? I mean, it starts from home. It starts wherever you are. So what would be the 2 or 3 guiding principles for anybody who's starting their journey or are in the early stages of their journey as far as upcycling is concerned?
I think, I mean, I'll be very honest, it's sustainability, right? And keeping environment in mind. That's the principle that I think is taken at the forefront. While I would say resource challenges were the days of the past where we created something out of it. But today, I think just the attention and the importance that we really need to give to the environment. I think sustainable. We just have to think about sustainability as one of the principles. But I think the other principle behind upscaling is all about creativity and innovation. How do you really think out of the box? Like to the point our co-presenter talked about, right? When you're looking at a building, I think a couple of them spoke about it. How do you think out of the box to bring it back to life? Right, so that's one I would say. The other one I would say is probably, how do you create that uniqueness at the end of it, right? After doing it, how do you create that unique product out of it at the end is really important, right? So these are the 3 principles I say. If you have the creativity, you can probably bring the outcome which is really needed.
So what has been your most memorable upcycling project that you have contributed to? This is not only to Praveen, anybody in the audience who wants to cover the topic out.
I'll actually pass it to the audience first before I answer this.
Anybody who wants to say their most memorable upcycling project that you have contributed to and some of the key takeaways.
Fancy.
I'm sure that some of you have done it. I mean, it could be personal, it could be real life stories. It needn't be nothing official about this one. Anybody else wants to talk about from their real life stories?
Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello.
Ritu.
I have a very, very silly thing to share.
We want that, yeah.
So, we are a small family of 3 girl children at home. And you know how uniforms get upcycled from the elder daughter to the youngest one. And I remember upcycling my skirts to school where the hem would open up till the time they really don't become short and you are in need of buying a new skirt. I think that's my fun time to look at upcycling of how we added more value where generations and generations together, we tried to make do with the same uniform in school because we could manage it. We were in the same school and hopefully the uniforms didn't change. I think that's on the personal note. It was something crossing my mind when Praveen was speaking up about saris being repurposed at home.
Yeah.
I think on the work front, I'll share one. I think I take a lot of pride in it. We were taking on a little used facility. We did a quick assessment. We didn't have enough capital dollars. We did a quick assessment, and I think what we did was we refurbished our workstations. So we did not change the workstations. They are not fancy, expensive American brands. They are just regular made in India stuff. What we did was we just changed the fabric to give it a fresh look. Venkat said people want to see new offices, so we did that just by changing the fabric a little bit. And that's how we just made sure that we saved money and at the same time get a refreshed look to our workspaces as we welcomed new employees to that building.
Anyone else? Thank you, Ritu.
Yeah, hi. This is Sundar Chandramouli from the Bangalore airport. Not talking about the work front over there, but I know of this furniture company. I was involved earlier in construction of the Volvo factory also near the outskirts of Bangalore. And Volvo, when they started off, they started bringing a lot of the equipment from Sweden. And they used to come in these crates. And the crates, the packaging used to be thrown out, the wood pieces. And this furniture company took those wood pieces, really nice pine battens, and they started making furniture out of it, which is, I mean, not even wasting the wood, but retaining the shape. So it would be benches, it would be very much suited for those type of battens from the packing part. And that's one of very good, I was very impressed by that upscaling effort.
I read about this from a not-for-profit organization that they have taken cartons from, like you said, packing material, and they have actually made tables out of that for students in classrooms in like in the rural areas where they really do not have furniture. So they have taken it and given it into schools. Yeah,
The benches and
great
then
example.
the beds and things like that.
Something very, very similar. Anybody else? Or I know my time is. No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. These are things that really makes a journey happen, the real life experiences and that you share.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hope I'm audible.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm from MIPL Global, and I want to.
We can't hear you well, sorry, sir.
I'm from MIPL Global. I'll just take a minute.
Yeah, please
to
go
tell
ahead.
this because we are talking about this. I'm talking about a year 1996-97. Next to RNS Motors, there was one very beautiful building called Indal Hydro. And those days, facades and all used to get imported. Even double glazing glasses, the extrusions, etc. And we had this unfortunate incident where when Dr. Rajkumar was kidnapped, people came and threw some stones and all. Indal Hydro being a large company, we could have brought in again. And there was this gentleman who said, if we are going to bring it from Germany to India, it's not about the cost. We need to think of how we can reuse this. And I'm talking about 30 years back. That particular gentleman, what we did is, it was very difficult those days to find, glazing contractors for double glazing glasses, getting those extrusions. Maybe we would have invested more money rather than we could have imported it. But I still remember that 30 years back, this gentleman talked about sustainability and how we are going to contribute by not importing this to India. So
seriously,
important what
it
we're
really
talking about
touches
here.
a chord somewhere. Yeah, correct. The
Yeah.
insights that are there. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that experience. So my question coming back to what Ritu had asked, and back to you, Praveen, on the same question on are upcycled means people think it's made from waste. Why is it really expensive, or is that not real? Well, or if it's expensive, why is it expensive?
Yeah, I think the point is, I think it's really expensive for one reason, there's really creative thinking in upscaling a product, right? It's not easy for every, human to try and upscale everything, right? So the point is, it requires out-of-box thinking, as I mentioned, and that's probably why I feel one of the reasons it's expensive, because it also takes a longer time to think through of what you really want to do out of it. That's one, I would say. And the second thing is also there is limited, waste or finite waste that probably will lead to what you want to really upscale, right? So that's another thing that I would say. And then also is about the uniqueness and functionality, right, needs to be structured when you're really thinking of upscaling. So as long as it's unique, as we know, if there's something which is unique and it's not a, print everything out, right, it's generally, a little expensive because of that. So I would say these are probably the three reasons that I find why it's probably priced a little higher than what you see, right? And we see that in a lot of stuff even today, especially for things that we do at home, right? When you're looking at, you're trying to emulate antique, woodworks at your house, it's a little expensive because you don't find those resources because there's shortage of resources, limited resources, and things like that. But there are creative ways that people do, right? I mean, if you look at on the streets, they pull out an engine and they put it on it, it becomes a sugarcane machine, right? So there are people who do things very differently. I mean, I call that as one of the examples of scaling. You know, an automobile which is not functional, he converted it into something which is probably creating revenue and generation.
Very true. So, Praveen, this is really rapid fire. You cannot go more than one phrase or 2 words, okay? Or anybody else from the audience can answer this. You're proposing bags that is being done with upcycled material for an upcoming occasion in your office.
Sorry, just repeat it.
You're proposing bags made of recycled material that is being for an upcoming occasion in your office. Suggest an opening statement with which you're going to pitch this to your audience. One sentence, yeah?
Can I crowdsource this?
Not more than one phrase for this. Anybody wants to take it?
Embrace our bags for your future. Embrace your bags for the environment, something like that.
Okay. You have been asked to suggest a name for making upcycling as a global program.
Okay. Global program now.
Yeah. What's a likely name? Venkat can answer this, I guess. What's a likely name that you will suggest and why?
For a global program.
For a global program on upcycling.
What's the slogan? Right?
Yeah. Project so-and-so. What will that be?
The future starts today, restarts today.
Anyone else want to pick that up? Any other thought? Whoever has started a global recycling program, what will be the name for the program? Upcycling program. Zero?
Zero hero.
Good one, I'll pick that up. Some of your favorite upcycled products for office or for personal use. Any favorites? Anything that you want to talk about?
My favorite ones, I can go for that.
Yeah.
My jean, when you convert a jean and tone jean into a shorts, I think that's what we should do, and I still do it.
Into a cloth bag, into a
yeah,
bag. Yeah,
absolutely. I do it in the shorts.
When Ritu was talking about, I remember like those days, the pants were converted into bags. Yeah, I remember that. So does anybody wants to answer this? When is the National Recycling Day? That's true, but which day is celebrated?
I think in the month of November sometime.
June 24th. Wow. Thank you. With that, we come to the end of the
Thank
session.
Thank you so much. Even in his brief notes, there were such great insights into the concepts. Thank you so much for those questions also. I'm quickly going to call on stage Mr. Bhaskar Nayak to give a small token of appreciation from our end to both the speakers here. Mr. Bhaskar Nayak is the regional head with Signify India. So much, Renuka. This was literally rapid fire. Even in Karan Johar's Coffee with Karan, he gives them the questions. But yeah, I could see he was actually stumped with what to answer. But thank you so much.
A more serious discussion follows after this, so this was a lighter one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, both of you. Now, going to the last session of the day, which is our panel discussion. And as aptly titled, this is called titled as Tackling a Building's Midlife Crisis. And we have some staggering panel of speakers for this particular panel discussion. And moderating this panel is architect Fancy George, the CEO for Thomas Workplace Design. And joining her are panelists Amit Shetty, who is the co-head for commercial leasing South at Embassy REIT. With them also is architect Arunjot Bhalla, who is the managing director at RSP Design Consultants. We also have Jyoti Gandhi, who is the executive director with Gleeds, and Ramita Arora, the managing director for Bangalore, and the head for Flex India at Cushman and Wakefield. Joining them is also Ritu Sharma, who has been so graciously contributing to each of the discussions. I would love to call her on stage now, who is the executive director for Boeing Global Enterprise Services. And finally joining them is Vardhaman Jain, the commercial leader for office, industry, retail, and hospitality systems and services for Signify India. I am going to quickly hand this over to Fancy and take this forward.
we as a panel here are quite excited to speak about and probably like brainstorm a bit as well. Unfortunately, they're all sitting all the way down. So I'm going to go start with Amit. So in terms of introductions, I just want to say this is like quite an august panel out here. Starting with Amit, he's got 20 years of experience. He's he heads Embassy REIT, and he's got about 20 plus years experience. I'm going to just leave it to him to explain a little bit about what he does. But he is a co-head in commercial leasing for South, right? For South. Okay, and he's had like quite a lot of experience with different companies like CBRE and JLL before that. So, I mean, these are some of the things that I think, he can bring in onto the thing. Moving on to Arunjot Singh Bala, I think he needs no introduction. 35 years in the industry. He graduated from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He was quite a star. And I know him personally because I worked 15 years with him. He was a bit of a mentor for me, so I really respect a lot of what he says here. It's going to be really important for you guys to kind of, absorb. Okay? He literally started RSP about 20 years back, right? In 1996. I remember walking into ITPL when he was like actually drafting it out by hand, literally on a huge drawing board, right? And we were just talking about it. Literally, yeah. And I would walk in there and see him like literally drafting every single line out there. So that's how much he can contribute to this panel today. Vardhaman Jain, he's from Signify, and he is heading sales for Signify. And I'm going to just pass it on to you guys so that you can talk a little bit about yourself as well. Jyoti from Gleeds, she's an executive director at Gleeds. And we're going to be throwing questions a little bit on, materiality and specifications with her. So it's like a different set of, expertise that you see on this panel here today. Ramita heading leasing. She was heading transaction and leasing, but now it's Flex Offices, and she's, yes, head of the city, managing director for Cushman & Wakefield in Bangalore. And she also heads Flex Office for India, right? And I have like kind of bumped into her in a couple of places where she's like quite kick-ass, we'll just walk in and she's like convincing the client to pick up a building. So we have to kind of throw some really hard-hitting questions at her. Ritu, my God, yeah, she's been in the industry for 20 plus years, many years with Honeywell, and before that with Sodexo. And now, currently, her role is with Boeing. She's like coming up with a really beautiful campus. So we're going to be throwing some questions there as well. And I've got about 30 years of experience. My God, I'm not that young, 30 years of experience. Okay, out of which 15 of that have been with Arun here. So, we go back a long way. I want to start this session, actually, if you can go into the next slide. This is a topic that's literally really, really very important, and we have been talking about it without really seeing any action on it for many, many years now. So like Rashmi was talking about it, we just said we need to do something, like talk about it on a public platform, because everybody says we need to do something about it, but nobody's doing anything about it because no one seems to be having time to do anything about it. So it just goes around in circles, and there's just no proper solution there. I just want to start this session with Arun right now because, he's someone who has he's designed a lot of buildings which are now 25 to 30 years old, starting with ITPL, for instance, and also Embassy Golf Links, Manyata Tech Park. There's a lot of, yes, Amit's going to contribute there as well. So I was just wondering, if you had to look back, what would you do differently so that, to enhance his life value and everything? Is there something that you would have done differently if you're thinking back to what you had designed 20 years back? Or was there any pressure to do what you had done?
Hey, hi, good evening, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you, Fancy, for all your kind words. Thank you for all the good work you give us. Would like to do a lot of work for you guys as well. So, so coming back to this important part, I came in a little late, so apologies for that. But some of the things that Praveen was talking about resonate closely with me. I'm going a little off track, but what I want to say is that this whole bit about recycling and so on is really a first world problem. We've been doing it, it's a habit as far as we Indians are concerned. Let's stick to the audience, I think most are Indians here. We've been doing it intuitively and naturally. Nobody thought about it, you know. It's now become fashionable to sit and have forums on it. But like that popsicle stick thing, I really love that story because you've done many things with those. Nothing was ever thrown away. I landed in the US at some point, and I was my first visit out of the country. Land there, totally taken aback. There are bins, you know, there's recycle and all that. We are used to the diwalas, you know, we just goes out, nothing gets wasted. So that's how it went on. And then you enter the field of architecture. And when I started off in India, there were no fashionable words like LEED and so on and so forth. You did the right thing. You looked at the sun and the orientation. You looked at how the breeze moved. You sensed what you sensed on the site and you designed. And there are few campuses that we had a great opportunity to be associated with, which would you can just walk into a LEED Platinum without worrying about a scorecard. There are quite a few, and actually most of them would walk into a LEED Gold, including our own office. When the LEED folks turned up, they said, "Why haven't you applied?" Nobody bothered, nobody thought about it, because you were trying to get the light in without the glare, you were trying to get the right thing happening. So what would we have done differently? Well, now we have templates and it focuses us to do these things. What we were doing intuitively and sound learning that we had as designers, and many of us have in our college careers and curricula, if you did that right, you won't do anything differently. I used to get questions initially when we did ITPL. There was this whole thing. It started spawning, curtain glazing, structure, glass everywhere, you know, and then it went the other way. We were doing this ITPL, and then this RMZ Millennia came up, and somebody said, "Oh, you're designing some really dated architecture, man. Look, it's got no glass." 10 years later, this is what we want. You're doing too much glass. No building material is wrong. Glass is not wrong. Concrete is not wrong. It's how you use it. If God gave you a color of, if you're a painter and you have a palette of colors, no color is wrong. It's how you use the thing. So we wouldn't have done anything differently, Fancy. It's now that we are more cognizant. Our clients are more informed. And it's the client's money. It's not the architect's money or the interior designer's money. It's the client's money. And they want it spent in the rightful manner. They have all their ESG goals and so on. So it's just more focused. It's not that I would have done anything differently. So I'm very happy that even now we are talking of things, but we give it names. You know. So
if Amit comes now and tells you to redo some of those buildings, would you do it any differently? Yeah, he's going to.
So Amit is not the only one, and okay. So Amit will say his piece, but as far as I'm concerned, Amit also is a function in the overall matrix, where he gets a client who also wants it done peacefully. I attended a fantastic session where he spoke a lot about the goals that you have at Embassy Reed, and I align with them completely. Many of those projects are ours. We're redoing things. We're not redoing things only from a sustainability perspective. We're redoing it even scientifically, right? Yeah. Traffic is one part of it. But just think of this. We are redoing offices to convert them to hospitals. There's a whole bunch that we upcycle, that nice word. To upcycle, I don't know if it's upcycle, but take an office building and convert it into an hospital. Maybe it's upcycle if it's COVID, right? We take a mall.
Transformation.
We've done quite a few of them. And no, we really upcycle them, I'm thinking, to a nice hospital. And then you've got all these mall projects which are sitting there, no use to no one, 1 million square feet, we've done a bunch of them, or maybe even 3 million square feet, becomes a hospital, becomes office spaces. So, yeah, it's the more apt word is transformation. But in some ways, if the use is taking something which was useless as a building form and converted it to something that's more useful, that's upside.
Okay, so I want to throw this at Amit now, because you are in a position right now. You're at Embassy Reed, and you have a lot of aging campuses from EGL to Manyata. Yeah. And you've done something which is like quite interesting with all of them. If you could just share some of your insights.
Firstly, thank you, Fancy and ITP, for getting us on this panel. I'll just throw a couple of statistics before I begin our journey at Embassy Reed on the recycling piece. I think about 150 million tons of construction waste is generated in India, right? Of which about only 1% is recycled. And current capacity of recycling is about 6,500 tons against 150 million that is actually generated, which is very minuscule. So this got us thinking when some of our properties, which is built 20 years ago, what do we do about these buildings? How do we recycle or upcycle these? So what we did was, I'll give you two classical examples. One of the block, we said we're not going to bring down the block because then that means so much more carbon footprint that we're going to add. So what we did was we kept the entire skeleton, right? And then we repurposed or rebranded the entire building so that it meets the new age requirement of the corporate, right? So we transformed the MEP, we just transformed the skin, but kept the structure. The other case is that we had to bring a building down because of its aging factor and some of the other aspects, right? So, but what we did there was, every the rubble or the we recycled it. So what we did was the aggregate was given to a BBMP certified vendor who would then the aggregates were segregated against the cement mixture. So we rebought those aggregates back from them. The bars, right? So the iron bars were all segregated, were reused, and also we repurposed the rubble. So underneath our pavers, so we would use them, and also use a portion of that in our mixtures across, which we could use against the compound wall.
So you'd say zero to landfill?
Absolutely. So this project has been zero to landfill.
That's just, that's amazing. If you could just give a little input on how you go about doing it, any agency that you use, so that it's like.
So there's one agency called as Rock.
This audience.
So there's one agency that's called Rock Crystal, who's doing this very effectively for us. So they're in north of Bangalore. They take all the waste from our construction debris and they repurpose it, and then they, we buy it back from them or they sell it in the marketplace. So that's one piece that we're doing. Even on the glass side, right? So we found these vendors who would actually use these glass for different purposes, right? So that's on the building ecosystem. But if I even talk about the workplace ecosystem, today it's a very dynamic environment. Cost has been a real big pressure for all the corporates. So what we're trying to do is simple things like light fixtures. We are powder coating them. We have a vendor. We have identified a vendor who will powder coat the light fixtures. Increase the bulb wattage so that it gives you that 350, 400 lux level that's required. Like Ritu mentioned, we've done a project. Fancy, you and me have been involved in a project, right? We've changed the fabrics. We've changed the sizes of the workstations. We've also ensured that the chairs, the cushioning is changed, but the skeleton system of the chairs can be utilized. So it's all about identifying a vendor well ahead in the life cycle, and then ensuring that these
so
things
you
are
say you got to start thinking that
early
from the beginning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I just want to throw that back at Ramita when a client is coming to pick up space from her. New versus picking up something that's 10 to 15 years old.
So that's always been the case, right? I think Praveen mentioned that everybody wants newness. Venkat mentioned that you're coming to office, you're wanting everything new. So I think it's a mindset change that is required, and I think a lot of people can be part of that journey. As of now, it's all being a very reactive process, right? It's either coming top down, that you have to do it. It's all very reactive. There's no thought that is going in, other than maybe a very few organizations who are thinking. So I think that's probably where our responsibility as consultants come in, right? When we really need to walk the talk and work with, the clients that we work with. Here, I just want to draw attention to a study that we recently did. This was in the US, but what we figured out is about 330 million square feet of buildings is going to be obsolete within this decade. Right now, that is 50% of the total grade A stock that's available in the country. So that's huge. And out of the 330 million, there is 25% which is at such a low grade, which will need to be repurposed, which will need to be utilized in certain fashion. So there is already thought that is going in. Is it happening in India? And like Arun mentioned, you know, instinctively it is. But again, it's more of a reactive process. So where it's coming to clients, it's, you know, we are taking it on ourselves, and, you know, we have had experiences and with Amit recently as well, right, where we are trying to see how we can reuse the space, how the buildings can be repurposed, how the newer technologies, how the sustainability, how the new laws that can be brought in, so that at least things can be on an even keel. You get the benefit of both.
Right. So, but it really is dependent on like thought leaders like you to push that idea down into the client side. For instance, Ritu. She comes to you and she's picking it up. She's not going to know till,
no, I
you know,
I
you
won't
kind
say
of
that it's
give her
just
the-
us, right? I'm
Yeah.
saying we also are contributing to that journey. There are a lot of, I mean, we are also getting our learnings from a lot of clients, you know, who are way ahead of the learning curve. And what learning that we are getting, it's our responsibility to pass it on to, you know, someone who's not even thinking about it.
Yeah, correct. So just going to Ritu, right? We've had so many conversations on the type of building and, you know, what exactly we have to look for in something like this. We've also talked a lot about circular design and the way you want to approach it. So this is going to be somewhere between Jyoti and you, because this is a conversation we've had, Jyoti, about the fact that I think when you start speccing, right? Maybe I'll start with you and then go back to Ritu, and you pick and I'm coming to you on the contractor bit. So when you start specifying materials, like, you know, do you like kind of dive deep into the recycled content that's there in any of those materials? Because it's just so important for it to start there. Everything has to start with that intent. You mentioned that, Venkat, intent. So, you know, it's, with each and every one of us, we need that, right?
Absolutely. In fact, if I have to step a little back, everything starts with a purpose. And I think purpose is a concept which has been very conveniently misused. Purpose is a concept where either you come up with the cultural concept to it, or you have the competencies part of it. So how can we integrate both these aspects? And I'm going to give all the attention to Venkat. Thank you so much. Because whatever you mention, typically starting from having a purpose and an intent is so, so important, because that gets translated to all the supply chain. Now, the supply chain would include not only the owner, but the designers, the architects, the consultants like us, and also the manufacturers who are basically feeding all the information to the designers as well as the owners. So when it comes to any specification, any material specifications, for a project, for a particular workspace which needs to be upcycled, where is the intent coming from? What are the designers proposing to the owner, because they are getting first-hand information from possibly their supply chain? And what are the materials that can be used and repurposed for that particular activity? So typically from a consultant like us, we definitely deep dive. So I would definitely talk about the 5 C's that we consider while considering a specification. Is cost to carbon, because carbon is something that we are looking at, and we are calculating the carbon not only from the operational side, but also at the initial concept stage. But cost to carbon, cost of construction, cost to program, cost of tax recovery, basically that happens outside India, and the cost of FM typically. So as a consultant, it becomes our responsibility also, understanding the business case, the intent behind what are we doing and why are we doing. How can we optimize the current materials that we have, or the furnitures, or the existing space that can be upcycled, by taking into confidence all the consultants and the supply chain together.
So you hit the nail on the head. It's literally everyone together on one platform coming together and collaborating to make it happen. Just the architect alone or the project manager, the end user alone can't do it. It's got to be like a group effort, right? So coming to you, Ritu, and to answer this question on the selection of contractors after you get, are you diving deep into looking at partners who can do this kind of work for you? And the focus is very much on this, on upcycling and transforming workplaces, because at the end of the day, it is a collaborative effort. So what is your take on this when you're going shopping for vendors or clients? Or I'm going to come to Vardhman now because we needed to talk about the fact that he is going to talk about light as a service. I think that's one of the things we discussed and few other things. Just your thought on this.
I think we are at a very good time because somewhere back to what Arun was saying, we are getting back to basics, right? Life is a full circle, and I think when it comes to the built environment, we are in that full circle journey. We're going back to basics. I think from my perspective, if I look at my peer group, and I include myself in that, there is so much of awareness today that many of us do a lot of deep dive to make sure that the supplier or the partner that you onboard has the capability and the knowledge. It takes a village to be able to, make a large project and an impactful project. And I'm just talking about my current experience at Boeing. It's not been an easy journey, but what we did was part of our entire supply chain process. We managed to ensure that we got suppliers who, even if had not done it in the past, at least had the intention to help us out meet those objectives of ours, right? I think that maturity is what we were looking at. Simple things like, the excavated land being recycled for bricks, right? All the material that comes in, the recycling of wood and some of the other packaging material that comes in. I think we did it shared by the purpose that we wanted for the storytelling of this project and for the intention with which we wanted to do, for the impact that we were making to the environment with construction. And, we love rules around us. As human beings, we always want to be guided through some rules and regulations. A lot of it was contractual binding. At the end of the day, just to make sure that we get the maximum out of this intention, a lot of it went into verbiage for the contracts that we signed off with our suppliers.
Thanks, Ritu. So coming to Vardhman now, because this is something we spoke about. As a vendor, Signify, you're doing a lot of good work in terms of working with companies to take light back and upcycle, recycle. And you've been doing this very quietly and not talking very loudly about it. So I'm going to give you the chance to talk a little bit about that. Plus the other thing that we discussed about light as a service, where you don't, so at the end of it, you don't have to own all of those products. It makes a lot more sense to do something like this.
So I think both these things, lighting as a service or the retrofitting and recycling part of it that we've been doing with our customers, they are both related because Signify as a company or the erstwhile Philips has always had sustainability as a core when it comes to our purpose. So we already spoke about it. We are a 100% carbon neutral company. We send zero waste to landfill. Plus, we also have an ambition of doubling our pace to reach the Paris Agreement of 1.5 degrees Celsius in 2025 instead of 2030. This is something that we are doing, and I think like Venkat said, this also gives us a competitive advantage because we become a preferred vendor for the customers who are also who also have sustainability as a part of their priorities. See, when it comes to light fixtures, a typical problem is the LEDs typically started in 2007, 2008 is when the advent of LEDs happened, and they started getting used very widely in offices, on streets, etc. But one of the problems with LEDs, as is with all the electronic items like maybe mobiles, laptops, etc., is they create a lot of e-waste. And This e-waste is becoming a burgeoning problem in terms of landfills, in terms of also the resource crunch, because this e-waste which is created will have a lot of rare earth materials like gold, silver, copper, etc. It will also have metals like iron, aluminium in them, right, which can be recycled back into the supply chain for these respective materials, and enhance the resource availability when it comes to domestic manufacturing. So there are two things that we do to be able to kind of reduce the amount of waste that is getting created when these light fixtures they near their end of life, right? The typical. So one what we do is we develop and manufacture fixtures which have a longer life. So fixtures which have a life of 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Second is we also create them as when we develop them in a way that they can be upgraded at the end of life, right? So which helps in this concept of extending the use of the fixture. For example, we are recently with a municipal corporation, we supplied some 20,000 streetlights to them, which was about 10 years back. And when it was now time to change these streetlights, typically a municipal corporation just goes ahead and changes those streetlights because that's the only easiest option to do. But with the way that we had manufactured these streetlights, with the upgradable option available in them, what we are now doing is all of these 20,000 streetlights, we are just changing the components which need to be changed to be able to refurbish these streetlights and use them again. So we're going to change the LED engine, we're going to change the drivers. So which is also something that helps in the circular economy part of it. We also have an ambition to double our circular revenues to 32% by 2025. Right now, how this has helped in this case is 20,000 streetlights. Just imagine a streetlight is at least 4 to 5 kgs, which is about 1 lakh kgs worth of 1 lakh kgs worth of material, which would have gone back, got recycled to some extent, and gone to the landfill in some extent. 1 lakh kg worth of material would have been newly manufactured, right? We save on the carbon emissions which would happen in that manufacturing. 1 lakh kgs would have been transported from the factory to this location. So you save on all of those carbon emissions, so which is extremely important. So this is one of the things that we do, create fixtures which are reusable, create fixtures which are upgradable. This is also something that we are doing with a lot of our office customers. Yes, because affordability is, yes, one attraction in doing this, because you typically get this, you typically get this done at a price of around 50 to 60% of what you would have otherwise paid. So you even save on the cost, plus you add to your, the sustainability that you are contributing to the environment.
So again, it's a mindset change.
Well, the intention is there. I think the ecosystem is still maturing. It's not that easy to do refurbishments, not easy to, upgrade a light fixture which has gone bad. It could be unique to your product offering, but it's very easy said than done.
So we've done this in a couple of these, which is why I brought this up as an example. And Amit
so no, I think she's right, because there are a lot of cases where this is not possible. I mean, this is becoming possible because when we created the fixture, we created it in such a way, and hence it also comes to making the right choice at the time of making the first investment, right? If you invest in a fixture which can be reused, if you invest in a fixture which can be upgraded, yes, you have an opportunity to do this. But there are many customers who also face this problem of, what do I now do with this fixture? I mean, someone said those truckloads of fixtures or truckloads of material going out of the factory. What do I do with this fixture? So what we do there is, so while we upgrade them with our sustainable fixtures, which are more sustainable, which help in saving further energy, we also upgrade them with our set of sensors and other systems that we have, which further make the entire ecosystem more sustainable. We have tie-ups with these e-waste recyclers, right? So, and these e-waste recyclers, they basically take it back and dismantle these fixtures and
that's the
plow it back into
as
the...
long as its bottom line is zero to landfill. I mean,
Yes.
that's what we're talking about out here. Upcycling, recycling, I mean, all those are in circular design. And also, when you start designing something, you're designing it with the intent that it goes back into manufacturing rather than ending up in landfill. So that has to be the intent. So again, we spoke about intents, you know, that's got to be the baseline intent of anything. Just very quickly kind of to go over, I think I wanted to end with a couple of slides because I thought it was important to kind of talk about the direction that we should be going. So this is Yobitsuji. Have you heard about this? Okay, this is actually a takeoff from Kintsugi. Literally what, this is something that, you can't see it. It's all the way at the bottom. But taking something that's broken and adding something new to it, okay? And ensuring that you get a new product out of something. So Kintsugi is taking something that's like a bowl that's broken and then you treat it with gold, and that's the terminology, Kintsugi. Whereas in this case, taking something that's broken and adding a new material and making something totally different out of it, right? So that probably is the way we need to be thinking about our workplaces moving forward. So I just had this here because I thought it was very important for us to kind of look at all of our workplaces in this fashion. I'm sorry you have to turn around. We have time in front. We could have had that content right here. But literally, it's about finding gold in landfills and making sure that that whole thing comes down. And we literally kind of move forward. There are some examples of projects that are done worldwide. This is a very old house. I'm not going to go too much into this, but I thought what was important is to pick up this example of a museum, which is literally a very old building, if you can see, and a glass facade around. It's a very famous museum. And I think, Arun, do you know this particular project? So here is where, you know, we can actually make a difference as stakeholders, real estate influencers, architects, project managers, like, you know, just to go in and then do something very meaningfully and very consciously and then put some responsible thought into everything that we did. So I just had some examples because we are talking today about, is it possible? Can we do this? So this is some of the things that I think we don't talk too much about it. It's an example of a project that I had done. And so this is literally taking tabletops and reusing it for different things, taking tabletops and making light fittings out of it, and then ensuring that, you know, everything is reused at the end of the day, and transforming spaces in the same way and using aluminum channels, reusing it. So I feel if there is a thought to want to do it, you can definitely do it, right? It's like a group effort. Sorry? It's a retrofit project, and 100%, you know, everything was recycled and reused in there. So I feel, you know, if you just put your mind to it and then kind of work together as a team, it's just easy enough to do it, and it's a collaborative effort. So let's go beyond repair to embrace and incorporate damage or error as a creative inspiration is the way I want to kind of leave it. Did you all have something to add to this?
You touched, and I mean, Venkat and many of us touched, it's underlining there are two issues. One is mindset, right? New versus recycled. I think the intent is very important. And also to have a mission to start early in the cycle, right? So if you do these three things, I think, you know, there will be a better world, and we leave this planet as a much more evolved planet for our children to habit this planet. So I don't think it's essentially, you know, what's happening is you know, not only affecting us, but we need to leave a more cleaner and healthier planet for the future generation, right? Like somebody rightly said, we're just, you know, we're just here for some time, and we need to be really custodians versus, you know, trying to own, you know, office spaces or furnitures or pieces of materiality, right? So I think that mindset should change, and I think all of us in this room should start being that instrument of change.
Thank you, Amit. Arun?
There's no choice.
You have to do this.
One planet.
You have to. You're leaving the planet to your kids. Yeah. And anything else to add, Vardaman?
Nope, I think Amit also said, I think if each and every one of us start thinking this way, I mean, just again to talk of a few figures, there's about 10 lakh tons of e-waste that we produce every year in India, but there's only about 20% of it which gets recycled. So I think if all of us start thinking this way, it could be at least 10 lakh less of 10 lakh tons less of e-waste going into the earth in India every year. So,
Listening to all the stats, after listening to all the stats and everybody's views, we are here for a reason. We are here for a forum where each and everybody is responsible for their activity. You know, right from an architect, right from an owner, a funder, we also have consultants, we've got contractors. Can we, each of us, make a kind of an OLX model? An OLX model where we have a platform, we have the information, we have the database. Currently, we are short of database. We are short of that information, that how can we basically get materials or get information where we can utilize in our own office spaces and upcycle that. Can we create a model where, you know, we are all communicating with each other, we have a small community together, and we start engaging so that we start working towards the sustainable goals. That's it.
Thanks, Jyoti. Ramita?
I'm just going to take from the topic, and it says buildings going through a midlife crisis, right? There are so many things, including humans, who go through a midlife crisis. You just don't write them up, right? So like there is a use for every bit, I'm sure there is a use for a building as well, and what goes into the building. So it's just that applying and using the intent, working together to come up with what could be the solution, and probably that's going to be the next, I would say, next 25 years, at least in Indian real estate. We've just completed 25, there is another 25 to go. So I guess there is a lot of responsibility on all our shoulders to see how we can make it a better place.
Okay. Ritu?
Sometimes this midlife crisis is self-inflicted. Okay, I think for me it's very simple. I'll go back to what Venkat was saying. You don't need to do heroic tasks. Simple actions, small actions will make the big difference. I think that for me is what we are practicing at Boeing.
Okay. And all of us can do this together. Just put your mind to it, work together. We'll take questions from the audience. We have about 6 minutes.
Really great discussion on this space. But I just wanted to ask one question, which is on the legality of upcycling. Is it legal to do upcycling? And what are things that we should be aware about as we get on this journey? Simple things that we spoke about, it's fine, but then how do we approach this? I mean, any information on it. It's not illegal, but what is legally we should be aware about as we...
Can I just add to that? Can I just add to that? So basically, we come across challenges on a particular project which is experiencing midlife crisis, and they need to be upcycled, and they need to be renovated, refurbished. Now, as consultants, we become a little responsible where how is the infrastructure, the structural stability? Do we have the building codes which are not outdated? So if you're keeping that into consideration, if you're also considering where the material specifications are not very outdated and they can be upcycled and recycled and used, that makes a difference. So I think keeping that in mind is very important.
Yes, anyone else? Okay, Sangeeta.
So I can ask 2 questions. Okay, so I'm Sangeeta, and I wanted to primarily talk about mindset. So I run a company where we manufacture composite panels which are used for construction, internal walls, external walls, partitions, and the works. And it's over 95% eco-friendly. And I have met a whole lot of people like you in various places. So everybody has the purpose, the intent, and everything. But in order to accept something that is there, and this has a legacy of over 18 years, but that intent, the acceptance is so difficult. You know, they ask a million questions, and I've said, you know, my own factory is built out of my material, and we are shifting our factory, and we are reusing the material. We're just cutting the panels and taking it to the new place, and this works so well for, you know, reducing the debris that is there. I mean, it ticks so many boxes, but why is it so difficult for people to kind of say, okay, let me try it at least? That's what I tell people, do a small thing. Do something small, and then, you know, get that confidence and then grow. But it's very difficult.
So she's got a product that's used for external and internal walls.
Yes, and is load bearing, and it uses very little steel. I mean, I can talk about it. You know, I can go on till tomorrow.
But the issue is certification, and I think
so there is certification issues. But if somebody says get IGBC, then someone says no, get this thing, and you keep spending money.
Trust me, all the people, all the consultants and all the people in the fraternity are very well versed with all the Green Building Council standards, everyone. You had a very important point about how do we basically convince and have people agree to what you're wanting to do. I go back to what Venkat was saying, and I'm going to take an extension of that. A simple thing like an employee survey. I was in Dubai last week for work, and I went to this place it's called Al Quoz area. It's an industrial place. And I was amazed looking at how this whole space has been converted. The warehouses have been converted into swanky workspaces. Amazing, incredible natural light, high ceiling heights. And there are pubs next to the other warehouses, which are also converted. I just kind of had a thought that, where is this coming from? How did the people who are working there change and agree to that kind of an atmosphere and an environment? Because you're going in an industrial area, right? A simple thing, a survey was done like what Venkat does it in his organization. That survey gave them so much of information. Employees are taken into confidence. There's more collaborative efforts going into it. And then with that, you're bringing in that innovation by upcycling whatever you have, by keeping the sustainability practices in place. So I would definitely go back to the people who are working with me. Can I take a feedback from them and bring them all together? So that's with the employees. If you have a strong commitment towards, you know, coming across with your sustainability goals, how does it get filtered to your supply chain? She will make it mandatory that the contractors, in addition to their H&S competency or their, you know, their capability, can we add a column where we know how are they upcycling the waste which is being taken out? It's not about waste management. It's all about how are we going to utilize whatever's been wasted. So it all goes down to the intent, the owner, and that gets filtered to the entire supply chain as well as your employees.
Well, this is not a question. Last, about a fortnight back in Bangalore, we were doing an iGen Design Forum. iGen Design Forum, which celebrates young designers. The keynote topic, what he chose was architecture after the architect. Now that was a big thing, architecture after the architect. That goes to say that whatever you're building now should be used in some form or the other 30 years, 40 years down there. I know we're talking sustainability, upcycling, but this keynote really moved the audience in many perspectives. He's architect Channa Daswate from Sri Lanka, who chose to speak on this. But it goes to say that the architects who now do the building should think 30 years, 40 years down the line, can that building serve as a hotel or as a museum so the building relives? Like what you said you saw in Dubai. So I just wanted to make this observation from a design standpoint.
Sure. And we have time's up as a... Thank you.
So for so beautifully directing that panel discussions, just gonna call on stage Bibhor and Indrajit, our managing director and the group publishing director for ITP Media, to please hand over our small token of appreciations to the speakers. Here, Bibhor, you wanna say something? Thank you so much, Ramita, for joining us here. They are multitasking here too. So I'm not going to keep you all away from your dinner much longer. I know you all must be really hungry. But I just have one last special guest to come on stage and do the closing note for this particular wonderful evening and these brilliant speakers that we had. And with this, I would love to call on stage Ms. Shobha Raghunathan, who is the chairperson and the co-founder for YNET, the helpful in bringing together this entire conference. A huge round of applause for the panel discussion, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, speaker. Shobha, I'm going to hand this mic over to you very soon. Yeah.
I was half expecting a half full or half empty hall. This has been a wonderful session, and firstly, I must thank the audience for being wonderful listeners and being so participative. The hall is full. We have people standing at the back. You couldn't have asked for more. And of course, I think thank you to all the panelists, to the two keynote speakers who so beautifully set the stage today. And at the end of a very tiring week, Friday evening, where I think most people would rather be somewhere else, it's been very, very engaging session, inspiring, to say the least. Such insightful thoughts presented, not just insightful, but also, I think, very engagingly presented. So beautifully presented. A lot of people have lovely stories to tell, but very few can tell them so beautifully. So I think we had a combination of both videos, slideshows, rapid fire rounds. We had all the diversity we could have asked for today. So thank you also to Leila, Renuka. They've suddenly disappeared from their front row seats. And Fancy so for managing this so beautifully and keeping the interest alive. Lovely questions, beautiful formats. At YNET, we've always tried to do things a little differently and bring new ideas, thoughts to the fore. Each of our curated sessions, we've tried to keep it different, truly believing in diversity, not just diversity of gender, but diversity of thoughts and ideas and experiences. And hopefully today's session was engaging and good for you, all of you, from that standpoint. We hope to do more of that. And I want to thank ITP for being such wonderful hosts and for so graciously partnering with us for this one. I think both Rashmi and Vibhor, thanks a lot to you. You've been very open to new thoughts and ideas. The idea is, of course, to generate a conversation around something we all know is so important. We talk about it in our offices, but we hardly ever bring it to force here. We talk about changing workforces, we hardly ever talk about changing workspaces. So with that note, we'd love to close the session. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Shobha, for that closing note. And thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for waiting with us. We just have a few last words about an initiative that the Commercial Design magazine is taking up, and I have Vibhor here.
No, you stay here with me. No, I think big thanks to everyone. I think it's been a phenomenal, a very marathon evening, but truly of substance. And as I would like to say that, commercial design has really navigated and become the powerhouse in terms of media to look the office segment so closely, and hats off to this young lady who's really anchoring this show. And I think 10th of August, we move to Delhi at Western Gurgaon. If you folks are anywhere, or your colleagues, do join us. We're putting together a Smart Office India Summit. And I would really appreciate on 3rd of November in Bangalore, we celebrate the Commercial Design Awards. And would you believe it or not, we get in thousands and thousands of nominations across the length and breadth of this country. We celebrate excellence in that. So ladies and gentlemen, from all of us, from our partners, AFC, Signifier, YNET, and all of us at ITP, a big thanks to you. The night is young. Thank you very much.